Welcome along to another video on F1 Union, where today we are here for round 3 of the season. It's the Japanese Grand Prix as we're heading out onto the circuit for qualifying, our first run of 3 like usual, but this time here at the great Suzuka track. It is one of my favourites of the season, just to be by yourself on the whole lap, get it all together. It's a great driver's track. So we're beginning our first run then. Battery on with the straight mode as we cross the line. I was a bit late to put the straight mode on there, but down to 70% underneath the banner and putting into medium, then none at the brake boards. Down into turn 1 then, gear 4. Power on as soon as possible when you're confident enough. Little dab of the boost as we head through the S section. Revving out gear 5 as I felt it was a bit better than just downshifting to 6 throughout. Through this long right-hander as we head up the hill to Dunlop curve, blasting the battery once again, putting it back into medium, and as soon as there's a little empty patch on the left, we put it back to none, and then flat through Degner 1. Middle sector begins now with 32.6 in the first, exiting Degner 2, little dab of the battery once again, uphill into the hairpin, heavy braking. It was so difficult at times to get the gears right here because of obviously the RPM being correct now with locking gears, not just being able to spam it, as we keep close to the right and put it into none as we head into Spoon Curve for the first time. Slightly wide on that bit of AstroTurf to gain us more ground through the long left-handers. On the power as soon as possible, straight mode on, and we blast absolutely everything we have remaining in our disposal. So middle sector split, it's a 111.3. Purple at the moment, but we know that's probably not going to stay like that for now. We're out of battery as there's just one chicane left for us. Flick it right, flick it left, and then get on the power as soon as possible when you're confident enough. Line of least resistance then to the line. Straight mode on right at the end, and it's a 28.756 as a banker, which only puts us P5 right now. So it was quite close in front of the drivers ahead, but obviously Benares, who's been on pole for both the 2 races so far and won them both, is going even stronger, I'd say, in round 3. He managed to do, I think, a 28.2 or 28.0 by the end, and we've only done a 7. So this is the biggest margin we've been behind. The first 2 races, it was around about 4/10. This one, it's around about 6/10. As being on PC and with those, I guess, pro setups, it's proving very difficult to get anywhere near him. But we're carrying on then on our second run. We're up by a little bit come the end of the first sector split through Dunlop again. As you can see, we're about nearly a 1/10 and a half up, and we've lost some time on the exit there to bring it overall to about a 1/10, but now we find some time to be a 32.4. It was all a bit of a roller coaster between a 1/10 and a 1/10 and a half there, but we've managed to maintain that improvement heading into the hairpin, down into second gear, not touching the inside curb to still give us some good momentum on traction and the exit. Keeping over to the left once again, a bit of grass getting kicked up. We wanted to move that close, and we've actually lost some time throughout that long right straight. Through Spoon then, on the power once again. We want to have a good exit, and we have just about found a couple hundredths, but yeah, there was time, I think, lost in that middle sector, about a 1/10 or so. But we're on an 11.2. But you can see we're actually down with one chicane remaining, so I just thought, screw it, let's send it into this last chicane. How much time can we find on the power on the exit? And we found 3/4 of a 1/10 to cross the line. It's not the best improvement in the world, but it's still an improvement, and it gets us back up into P5, and with just one run remaining, yeah, this was proven tricky. It was very difficult to get ourselves any higher than this. As I think in practice my best run was, I think, a very high 4, and I think maybe I did a 5 once, so a 6 was kind of realistic, so I was still kind of happy with the lap, but I just knew there was just so much more time in it. And I think the main issue with the second run is that we just didn't maximize the battery enough. We used a bit too much at the start, but we're on our final run then. Time to give it absolutely everything as we dive it into the S section. We actually took that in 6th gear, like I mentioned, kind of the opposite at the start. We didn't want to, but we carry on then, but we're still down, and you can see through Dunlop we have lost so much time throughout that little section, and it's never a good feeling when you finish the first sector and you're down by over a 1/10 and a bit. So the rest of the lap was kind of just drive over the limit, but unfortunately we've driven a bit too over the limit there in Degner 2 to be down by nearly 2/10 as we exit the hairpin, and we're still down by a tenth and a half, blasting our battery. You're going to see the time go down a little bit here as we're doing a bit better on battery compared to the second one, but the damage has been done in the first 30 seconds of the lap, mainly on the exit of the S section. Through Spoon then, it's not the greatest exit or run, as you can see the time going back up to what it was of 2/10, so the lap is pretty much done, and we have dropped to P6. We're down by 2/10, but like I said, we're better on battery, so we found a bit more heading into the final chicane. So once again, screw it, over the chicane, over right, over left, and on the exit we're actually only a half a tenth down as we cross the line, so there was still enough time, I think, if we got the right lap together overall. But it is unfortunately P6, meaning our qualifying this season has been 4th, 5th and 6th. So yeah, it's not been the greatest hunting ground. The race has usually been a bit better. As you can see, we could have, even if we did a 5, we would have needed a whole 10th to improve our position, which I think was in the locker, but I mean 4th onwards was a bit ambitious. So we're moving on to the race then, parking in our grid slot for P6. There's 3 people ahead of us on hard compound tyres of Stelios, Frankie and Fire. The front 2 are on mediums. So here I was thinking, how many of the hard runners can I get on this opening lap? Because this could really help my race out. But we know from the first 2 races, the first stint can be a bit weaker than the second with the mediums. I just haven't really got the pace, but we'll find out with the 5 lights out and the Japanese Grand Prix is underway, as we look like we're going to out traction Stelios into turn 1, as we have the inside line as well in the slipstream of Frankie up in front, as we spy a gap that was never really going to open for us, so we'll have to sit in behind the Cadillac for now. But we're ahead of Stelios, so 1 done, and there's 2 ahead who we could still try and get. So on the back of Frankie, I thought let's maybe try the outside, even though there's absolutely no grip. Got very close to being on the grass there, but exiting Dunlop, we've managed to gain a position, and so far so good. Through the Degners then for the first time, just spying and eyeing our way to see if Frankie makes any sort of mistake. Can we put him under any sort of pressure, as we're going to close up into the hairpin? We're not going to go for it, but we're just going to let him know he's there. He's ran slightly wide. We go to the inside. It's not the greatest exit from us though, and the Cadillac stays ahead. But here I thought, let's blast absolutely everything. Let's see if we can get him. And we do. He doesn't really fight it too much. We go to the inside, and that is 2 positions gained on the opening lap. We're up in a 4th, and now Fire ahead of us. Seems a bit too far ahead for us to get all 3 of them on this first lap, but the point is we've managed to get track position over these 2, so now we can see how well it goes, because again the race pace, spoiler, was not great in this first stint, so at least we're up in a good position to try and hold it. As Benares and Tesaurus in 1 and 2, they've managed to get away pretty well. As we finish the first sector, we've managed to save enough battery through that last chicane to blast a lot and keep well clear ahead of Frankie, as we're on to the second lap as we dive into turn 1. And I think the next few laps are just going to be the start and end of the lap. The middle sector, nothing really happened, so we're cutting to the end of lap 2, and as you can see, Fire has already pulled away from us by 1.5 seconds, and Frankie is all over the back of us. We haven't had the greatest run there on the exit, so we're having to move over right to try and break the tow, but Frankie's in the slipstream of us and we're in the middle of the track. Which way is he going to go? Inside, outside? He will go to the inside, and we have to give him the room, and down into turn 1 he parks his car perfectly. We can't do a thing about it, and he gets the move done, and he's back up into 4th. So yeah, couldn't really do much. He's got a good straight line speed with that slipstream and battery. And we cut to the end of lap 3 now, and we have Stelios now right all over the back of us, trying to regain his place as we head into the hairpin. Frankie's gone a bit deep there, so that will help our exit here on the power with the battery, and we're going to try and do what Frankie did to us on the previous lap. As we're in the slipstream, we can see his red light flashing. We've got a lot more to use, whether he was out or he just put it in none, because he knew he was far enough ahead to stay in front for now. So just like last lap, we have to build it all over again. We can see the top 3 have already gone a couple seconds up the road now. As we're heading on to Spoon Curve then, you can see in the bottom right, my fuel is already in the green, unlike the first 2 where we underfueled. And that's because in practice I just didn't find myself saving really any fuel per se. So I thought it would just stay the same at just above neutral, as I think I wasn't the only person to do that, as Stelios is putting us under pressure. We're using our battery, we're catching Frankie right at 130R. We have really nowhere to go at the apex. Now we move to the left as we're side by side with the Cadillac. We're going to go round the outside, wheel to wheel with him. Now down the inside, we cut him off and we get ahead on the power with the battery, and now we have to try and stay ahead. So it's all aboard the train as Frankie is going to try and re-overtake us, but he's now under pressure from Stelios as well as we dive into turn 1. You can see the top 3 are gone. Any chances of a podium are gone. So at this rate, it's all a big fight for 4th, as we're going to cut to, once again, a bit later on in the lap. You can see Stelios is fighting with Frankie. I think now, there it is, there's a little bit of a swap as we go a bit wide. We're actually a bit distracted seeing that on our leaderboard on the top left, but Frankie stays back in front of the Audi, giving us a bit of breathing room, as it's going to be pretty soon, if not this or next lap, where the hards are pretty much better than the mediums, as I was just struggling for pace really all in general. So the more I can keep them behind, the better for my race. Obviously the worse for them. They'll probably be getting more annoyed, but because of their fighting, I've managed to stay 4 or so tenths ahead of Frankie, but he's still not done as we move to the left to try and break the tow. So we're going to live to fight another lap in P4 ahead of the Cadillac and Audi, breathing down our necks as we're going to cut once again to Spoon Curve. And Stelios just always seemed to blast a lot of battery here as he's fighting away with Frankie, and this time round he's going to get ahead of the Cadillac through Spoon Curve, not getting a warning this time as we're on the power. And now again, due to Stelios getting ahead, he is right behind us now, so making us blast the battery heading into 130R. He's closing right to the back of us, and we are out of battery now, so we're going to need to hope that we save a lot in this final chicane. But Frankie fights away with Stelios, which again is going to give us some great breathing room on the exit to stay clear of both of them, not even with not that much battery, as look, we're already out, but we're that far ahead. So once again the train continues with me in front, and we're just going to have to pick the battery back up, because we're not going to get too many of these lifelines. So moving on to Spoon Curve once again, we've got Frankie pretty close behind us with Stelios all over the back of him. So Stelios can't quite get Frankie this time round into Spoon. Frankie defends well enough, and now we are still going to come under some pressure. You want about 60% minimum when you exit Spoon. We're on 52 there, as Frankie's already getting alongside us, and we're going to blast to stay in front, heading through 130R then. Stelios closing up to us, and actually, as you can see the red arrow on the right, there's a slight red arrow on the left, and we have to move slightly just in case we both get sent into the wall there. I was not happy at the time with Stelios, and I have to leave room for Frankie on the outside, so that's let him get to the inside. And now Stelios is in the middle, and it looks like Frankie is going to be able to get the place on us down the inside. And I was, not happy with that very close call. But as you can see ahead of us, there's a yellow, and that is Tesaurus, who has had a moment there. Has had a moment. Looking back at the end of the race, he lost the car, and Fire, who was behind, couldn't do anything to react in time because he was literally right behind the Haas, so he got spun. So here I was thinking, maybe a podium's still on, but Tesaurus still clearly had really good pace after this. As we're heading into Degna 1, and just look at that white arrow behind us, it darts to the left, and suddenly...
What was that? I just saw the white arrow go so deep, and that's why. Oh dear, Stelios.
So yeah, Stelios went over the inside curb at Degna 1, went off the track into the gravel, and actually slid his way back onto the track. So at the time I was wondering if that was a bit dangerous, but we've cut to the end of lap 9, and already he's right on the back of us again, as we're all over the back of Frankie, who's out of shape. But now on the exit, he's really out of shape as he loses the car and he's around, so that promotes us back up into 4th. Big mistake from Frankie there, bit of a shame on his part, as that promotes Stelios up a place, and he's right behind us. Our mediums are really falling off the cliff here as we cut to the end of lap 10, and I obviously want to get in as soon as possible, but I thought this lap is still a bit too early as we head into the chicane, diving left and right, but the car's just not wanting to stick as well as the start. You can see Tesaurus is in, so he's thought to pit on this lap. So we see Stelios behind him. We're not going to even fight it. We can't even fight it. We have no battery, and we're just going to let the Audi go. He's clearly not going to hold us up this lap, as we're slow enough as it is on these dying mediums. So we're cutting to the end of lap 11. We will be pitting this lap, and because the pit lane at Japan is the opposite in terms of the team order, where instead of Mercedes being at the start, it's at the end. I was kind of just tapping the button to turn me in.
Alrighty then.
But this happened instead.
Oh, what? Oh, fuck. I didn't... I was hovering over it.
So yeah, for maybe the first time ever really in a league race, I've accidentally had an early turn in because I must have put too much force on the button. But yeah, that has lost us maybe a good second or so, and we've come out just in front of Andreas, who pitted a bit earlier, as we cut to lap 15, a few laps later actually, because nothing really happened. Tesaurus obviously pitted a lap before us, got a bit more of a gap ahead.
Frankie.
Even without the second lost, he was always going to be ahead. We were never catching him because he just had a pretty good pace today. As now we see in the pits, Frankie and Stelios. He comes out the pits not too far behind us, as yeah, Frankie sped in the pits to add insult to injury in his race. As yeah, you can see Stelios is 1.9 seconds behind us.
He's only there. What the fuck? Those mediums better die at the end.
So cutting to lap 17 in the Degners, Stelios still stuck behind Andreas, as we're just hoping he can hold him.
Who knows, maybe Stelios caused an incident at that corner when he lost it.
So yeah, I was thinking it's going to be inevitable. He will overtake me, as he's already got past Andreas heading into that hairpin. The longer I can keep him behind, the less he'll pull away. So in the back of my mind, I was thinking if he does get any sort of penalty, if we're within 5 seconds at the end, we might still be able to hang on to this P4 finish, as of course the first 2 races of the season we've been 5th and 5th.
Stelios so quick
so obviously
through
I
there.
didn't
It's like it blasts
want to finish
everything.
5th for a third race in a row. 4th would obviously be better. So it's up to us to see if we can hold on to this against Stelios, and hope the chances after the race that something happens. But yeah, he's got past Andreas and he's already closing right to the back of us. But I think we have enough battery to hold him off for this straight, and he's not exactly as close as he would like for a move. So we've got enough battery. As we're starting lap 18, we go right to the left of the track to make sure there's no chance of any sort of slipstream advantage for him. As we head into turn 1, still ahead in P4, fastest lap for Frankie, as I think that'll be the second out of 3 races he's taken the fastest lap in. You can see Fire did the hard medium strat, same with Stelios, and he's actually chasing Venaris down for the win. Venaris, who won the opening round by 14, which eventually became 17 seconds after Pens, the second race by 11 seconds, and I said Fire can probably take the fight to him. He's definitely closing up to the Ferrari. I was just confused because the lighter red dot would be the Ferrari, but it's not. That's the Audi, obviously. But yeah, Stelios all over the back of us, and we know how much battery he likes to blast at this part of the track, so we turned it off thinking that's enough, but no, he's still there. So he's going to the inside as Stelios, and so we're going to try and switch back the Audi to the inside, but we haven't really got far enough alongside, and even though he's gone wide, he's just got so much better grip, tyres, and maybe even pace towards us, and we just can't really do anything about it except blast the rest of our battery to go to the inside at 130R, but we're not really there for a move. But we carry it on, we're not giving this up, and we're going to go side by side with Stelios, brake pretty evenly, but round the outside we go on the Audi, down the inside. We're back in front of Stelios, but with not really a great amount of battery, so we're going to keep over to the right. Stelios doesn't even get in to our slipstream, he's just going to keep left. We're out of battery, and he's going to sail past up into P4 on the start of lap 19. So we've got about 8 or so laps after this one to try and stick within 5 seconds of the Audi. It's going to be a tall order, because I was expecting here for him to absolutely run off into the distance, but as you can see, we're just going to be skipping towards the end of the race, as again the rest of these laps are just me trying to stick with Stelios. You can see the gap is around a second. I think Frankie had another spin with that brief yellow that appeared, but yeah, the gap increasing to about a second and a half, nearly 2 seconds. But yeah, he actually wasn't pulling away as much as I thought he was. You can see Tesos has got the gap to nearly 9 seconds. You can see Froggy is lacking about 2.5 behind as we're on to the end of lap 25, and we'll be resuming on lap 26 now.
Okay, there's an Audi ahead of you. Okay, so gap to the car ahead, 1.5 seconds. They're on old mediums, and the time last lap, 1 minute 32.7, and you're closing by 0.4 a lap. Keep it going.
Well, I was.
Yeah, I don't know if it
Christ.
was because the engineer was in my ear throughout 130R, or I had a complete brain fart, or both, or it was just a skill issue. But yeah, we were kind of closing back on Stelios a little. Obviously, his mediums are falling off. I thought maybe there's still a chance we can overtake him on track, but we had a big moment there into the grass, and that's actually put Froggy pretty close behind us, and he's going to be hunting us down. Stelios 2.6 ahead of us, so even if he got a 5 sec, that mistake still doesn't really cost us, but we still have to make sure we finish ahead of the Red Bull, who's closing the gap more and more as we're just trying to get our tyres to the end. You can see bottom right, our tyre symbol looking pretty red right now, as our tyres are looking to be a bit on the cliff. So heading into the hairpin, Froggy's looking ever closer to us. You can see that white arrow having two versions of it, but I think at the time we knew we were still probably going to hang on, because I thought our battery was good enough. As heading into Spoon, we're going to be able to save, and like I said earlier, you need about 60% exiting to be fine by the end, and that is pretty much what we have. 65 as we blast our battery then, as
So,
Froggy
who won?
is quite far behind us now, and actually he's ran out of fuel.
Unlucky fire. Is he out of fuel?
So Venaris has converted 3 out of 3 poles to wins so far this season, to win every race.
Oh, man,
Fire
that could've been
second,
kinda
Tasos will get his first podium, Stelios will finish 4th, and we will come home
I
for
made that mistake.
another
Oh.
P5.
Wait, what? Nice 10.
So that was it in the end. There's starting to be a bit of a formula playing out for each race here, but we did actually get 4th in the end, because Stelios post-race did receive a penalty for rejoining the track into another driver. So it's not 5th, it's a 4th place, which is at least a step in the right direction. If you're wondering why you didn't see a few familiar names in this one, this race was kind of clashing with one of the final matches in the World Cup, so a lot of people prioritised that. I think it was one of the semi-finals or something, with England mainly, and obviously a majority of the grid is from the UK, so I do get why a few of them did want to miss this race, as again, every race started on the mediums. Every race, the first stint wasn't exactly ideal. We kind of just gained some ground, if we even do, create a bit of a train. Those ahead just go, we don't really stick with them as well, but the second stint on the hards, I think, was a bit of an improvement. As you can see the replay now, Stelios getting his front wing alongside my rear tyre there, and that could have so easily connected us both left into the wall, but luckily we got away with it. So yeah, it was a close call, but I mean, this race overall, even though it's the best result of the 3, was probably, I'd still call my weakest. I'd say China was the worst for tyre wear. This one might have been the worst for race pace, and round 1 still seemed the best. It's just we didn't maximise what could have been on the table. But I will just tell you, next week we are returning to Miami, and trust me, that one is going to be a bit of a banger, because the final few laps are complete and utter chaos. So look forward to that one in 1 week's time. Currently right now we're looking to round 5 after that for Bahrain and then Saudi and whatnot. But yeah, Japan, 12 points on the board. We maximised really everything we could do. There was no way we were getting 1st, 2nd or 3rd. So we've taken the maximum from Japan. China, we maybe were 1 place behind where we should have been. Australia, quite a few places. But still, it's been a consistent start to the season. Now we just need to keep finding some better pace. And as we learn with the setups and the game and the cars, I'm sure we will. So that has been it then. That's been Japan. We will see you next week for Miami.